How we doing, folks? Obviously, James, OPT Fitness here. Um, Back on the scene, as you can see. I thought I'd make this video just to explain where I've been and to let you know, hopefully, what's happening going forward. So, where have I been? Wow. You'll know I've not put up a video of any sort for 6 months plus now. The reason for that is quite clear. It's quite straightforward. I had cancer, and part of my therapy, because I was in therapy, because it's good to talk. Obviously, don't let anybody tell you any different. You need to talk. Go and do it. Was I was really struggling with coming to terms with the fact that I had it, cancer, that is. And I found it really, really difficult to talk about it because it happened so quickly. From the day I first went to the doctors to say, wait a minute, this is not right, to spending 7.5 hours on an operating table was 8 weeks. That was it. That was it. 3 of those weeks I was in Florida, and I was in some really dark places, while I was there. My mind was, anyway, should I say. And yeah. And then when I came back, I was looking online at YouTube and things like that, trying to find information about people that had been through what I knew was going to happen to me. And there was so little online of like first-hand experience, because it's okay sitting there being told by doctors and things what it is, and what's going to happen and everything else, and this may happen and that may happen. But you're probably aware, in these days, NHS, they're too scared to say anything, so they say nothing. Which means, people like me that don't know what they're walking into. I'm never ill. I'm always healthy. I'm always fit. As you know, I do boxing things. I was strongman stuff and everything else. So I was online trying to find some stuff and couldn't find anything that was relatable. There was loads of stuff online about how it had happened in America, and there were people in America talking about it. But I couldn't find a single thing about a British-based person that had colon bowel cancer, the way I had. Sigmoid colon is what it technically was, if anybody is going through the same thing. There was nothing there, nothing I could relate, nothing I could expect to look out for, or where to go for help and things like that. So I thought I'd make this video for that reason as well. I also want to make sure that everybody knows that I am on my way back to being completely fit and healthy, and what my journey actually looked like. And then we'll talk a little bit about the future. So that was the biggest, longest introduction in the world. And there's a good chance that this may end up being a 2-part video, because there's a lot to unpack. Okay, so again, this is a lot about my mental health, about clearing my head and telling everybody so that you can all see it and I don't have to keep repeating myself. And secondly, so that I can maybe help somebody else out there that's going through it, and a little bit of realistic expectations, I think. And then just a general, where are we? What's going to happen? Okay, so let's get started. Last time I sat in this chair, as I say, it was over 6 months ago, and I was preparing for 2 competitions. So you'll probably know I dabble a bit in strongman, or I was. That's something else we'll talk about. And I was preparing for these 2 competitions. There was one in Hull in June that I was gonna go and win, and there was one in Ayrshire in October that I was also going to win, because I'd seen the lineups of the events and the weights, and I was absolutely confident. I had the 2 of them in the bag. They were both mine. So I was getting fit and heavy, and I was up at 23 stone last time I sat in this chair, preparing myself. I had a small injury to my knee, and I was taking care of it, and I was being just the best chance of winning and doing everything right. I was doing nothing wrong. And then it happened. I was in the toilet and noticed, "Ooh, that's not right, sorry." And I just, forgive the pun, but I sat on it for a month and didn't say anything to anybody. Um, and then I went to the doctor and I said, "Listen, not sure if this is, is anything to be worried about or anything else, or what's the script?" And I've got a phenomenal GP. Honestly, I have. Shout out to her if she's watching or anybody knows her. Her name's Amy Cassidy, Dr. Amy Cassidy, and she is absolutely brilliant and helped me through everything. Good chance, by the way, I should warn you, this might get a bit emotional. But we'll try. We'll try. I'm sure there'll be tissues available at some point if I need them. Anyway, so went and saw the doctor, and immediately, she did the old test to make sure I've not got piles and it's not a fissure and all that. And do you know what? I think that puts a lot of people off, a lot of men off. Anyway, I think women are much better at doing that sort of thing than men, We're terrible at it. We're terrible at looking after ourselves, and we're terrible at telling people because we're worried about somebody putting a finger up a bum. Get over yourself, guys. Honestly. So I went and she checked all that and she said, "Right, you've definitely got none of that stuff. We need to get you tested." So she gave me another test away. I did it that day, took it back in. And so that was the Monday. On the Wednesday, the results were in, and yeah, there was substantial amount of partially digested blood in my poo. Let's not beat around the bush. It was poo, and they already referred me to the hospital for a colonoscopy. So I got a phone call on Thursday afternoon to say, "Listen, we've got a gap." A gap. That's what. A space on Saturday morning. Can you make it? But you'd need to come up and pick up the bowel prep stuff. Of course, I'm like, yeah, no problem. Because at this point, I'm thinking, not wrong with me. I'm perfectly healthy. I'm doing nothing different from what I have done. I've certainly not lost weight, because everybody tells you when you get cancer, or you're losing weight and blah 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 blah, or that's what to look out for and everything else. I'm here to tell you, I was putting on weight the whole time I had cancer, putting on weight. Now, I was also training and getting myself ready for these 2 strongman comps. So it was natural for me to be putting on weight and getting up as big as I could. I was feeling as strong as I've ever felt in my life. I had no symptoms other than blood in my poo. All right. So if you have got blood in your poo, guys, and you're not going to get it checked because there's no other symptoms, please go and get it checked anyway, because I had literally no other symptom whatsoever. Anyhow, colonoscopy, yeah, I did the bowel prep, which was not fun. Not fun at all. It was a bit of a laugh. Now I look back at it, it's something you've got to do, a bit of a giggle. If you ever have to do bowel prep for a colonoscopy, yeah, if you've got an ensuite toilet, you're sorted. If you don't, oof, good luck. But anyway, so I went for my colonoscopy on the Saturday morning, and you're laying there facing the wall, but this wall happens to have a big TV on it, so you can see what's going on. Not the greatest sight in the world when somebody's coming towards you with a camera on the end of a tube. And I was facing away from them with that camera, so you know where it went. Okay. And then as the camera moved up through my bowel, it was there. You could see this substantial tumor growth, whatever you want to call it. And it was a good size. It was nearly 10 centimeters long. So the atmosphere in the room changed immediately. We were joking, because it turns out one of the nurses that was doing this lives down the street from me. And had recognized me from being at the house at Halloween. So as you can imagine, I was already mortified, and they were noising me up about it. But that all stopped immediately. Everybody knew what it was. It just changed. Nobody needed to say anything. We didn't need a biopsy. We knew. You could see it on the screen. That's the problem. Unfortunately, my bowel twisted too much, so they couldn't check any further. But that was fine. I think that was enough for everybody. So they did take a biopsy and they put a little tattoo inside. As you can see, I'm not adverse to a tattoo anyway. So, I've got internal. Well, I don't have internal now, actually. We'll get to that. But, I'm happy for the old tattoo. Anyway, that has to go back to them. The biopsy goes away, and I've got to have now a CT colonoscopy, which is possibly one of the worst experiences of my life in terms of embarrassment. Having a colonoscopy, nothing. CT colonoscopy, dead easy. If you get offered one over a camera one, take it. Take it. Absolutely. Do not do the camera one. Take the CT one. The embarrassment thing was, though, so I had mine done in the Royal Alexandra in Paisley. And you go in, and it's sort of a waiting room, but it's also got a door that leads you through to a different department on one side and a door that takes you back out to sort of a main waiting room on the other side, which people that work in the hospital seem to use as a pass-through to get to where they want to, which is fine. Great. I hope people can get to their jobs and get to their breaks as quickly as they possibly can. However, I'm taken in. Now, remembering, I'm 23 stone at this point. I am preparing myself for a strongman competition. I'm as big as I've ever been. And they gave me a hospital gown, one hospital gown, and say to me, get changed in that room and come back out and have a seat. Yeah, in front of where everybody is on a metal bench. And I'll just point out, I was 23 stone in a hospital gown that was open at the back, sitting on a metal seat. So, as you can imagine, pretty cold where you don't want it to be cold. Then they eventually call me through to the TT room itself, which is freezing. And I'm not just making excuses in case anybody that saw me, it was absolutely freezing. And hop up in the bed, that's fine. So I've got this gown on, and it's literally, it's just covering everything. Yeah. I'm not saying I've got a lot to see, but what there was to see was just being covered. And then they say, right, just lay down on the bed and that's fine. And they hook me up to a drip because they're going to put some stuff, I can't remember what it was called, through my veins. I think it's iodine, I'm not sure. And then they put something on the other arm. Right, lay back and, okay, so we're going to do this. And then once the drip starts and they start pumping the stuff through, you'll feel like you've wet yourself. What? I'm laying here in a gown on a bed in the freezing cold, and you're telling me I'm going to feel like I've wet myself? Fantastic. Thanks very much. And then they said, put your hands above your head. Wee short gown, hands above my head. Everything is on show now. Meat and two veg, the whole shooting match. And I'm mortified. I'm freezing. I felt like I've peed myself because the stuff's now pumping through my veins. And I can see people in the safety bit where they are taking photographs and just chatting away. I'm just like that. Really? There should be a dignity bin as you walk in this place because you just leave it there. But anyway, so that happened, came back. I got a phone call saying, we're going to book you in for an operation on the 6th of August. But we'll get you in before that for post-op and pre-op stuff and everything else. Great. So I went off on holiday. I did my thing on holiday. At this point, I'd had the phone call, obviously, to tell me, yes, it was cancer. And they'd have a proper conversation with me when I came back. So I'm now in Florida, 4,000 miles away or whatever it is. I have no idea. And all I can think of is this the last time I'm going to be in Florida? Is this the last time I'm going to have a family holiday? Is this the last of everything, I'm not saying it ruined my holiday, but it certainly affected it. Let's not kid ourselves. But anyway, I come back from a holiday and I came back on a Saturday, I think, and I went on the Wednesday. And my son, Curtis, who you'll hopefully all know, um, came with me because my wife was distraught at the thought. Every time somebody mentioned I had cancer, she was in tears and everything else, which helped me. Funnily enough, it helped me because then I could be stronger and I could support her through it. So it was good in that respect. And so we went and I spoke to the surgeon, and he was absolutely brilliant. And it's so just matter of fact. I walked in the door and he said, "Hi, how you doing? Great, have a seat. Right, let's talk about your cancer." I was proper taken aback. You know, there was no softly easing me into it. It was just cancer. Let's talk about it. Which again was probably the best way to do it in hindsight. At the time, took my breath away. And then we did the pre-op stuff and everything else, and that took about 3 hours because something was wrong and hadn't been organised and blah 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 blah. Not blaming anybody, and I don't really care what wasn't organised. It was just that's what happened on the day, and it was great. They really looked after me on the day and got everything done. And then a week later, off I trot the hospital. And 7.5 hours later, I come out and the operation's done, and I've got tubes coming out of everywhere. Literally, you name it. I've got all sorts of stuff. I go up onto the ward. Just that's the way it happens. First couple of days, absolutely fine, and then I develop a massive infection, which apparently is not uncommon. Quite right. So I would imagine you've just had your bowel opened up. I had, I think in the end they said they took 12 inches of my bowel away, which sounds a lot, but apparently your bowel's 5 foot long anyway. Or sorry, the large intestine is 5 foot long. So now mine's a bit shorter. And they reattached it. Really, really lucky from the position and everything else. I didn't have to have a colostomy bag. Not that there's anything wrong with a colostomy bag, but I was lucky that I didn't have to go down that route. And then, I'd say the infection came in and it just went from bad to worse from that point of view. I had to have it reopened, the wound reopened and drained. And then the bit that didn't open burst open by itself. And yeah, just a whole lot of complications. All of these complications that they tell you, it's a 5% chance, a 20% chance, a whatever percent chance. You name it, and I got it. Okay. So one of the other things you get is because I had the robotics, I was pointed head down. So when they fill you full of air, all that air ends up in your shoulders. So my shoulders were in absolute agony for about 3 days. And then, the worst bit of it. So the infection, that wasn't the worst part of it at all. I got up one morning to go for a shower and thought, oh, that's not right. Genitalia. I walked into the shower because I was in the Queen Elizabeth having the operation done. So everybody's got a private room, ensuite shower and everything else. And handily or unluckily, I'm not quite sure, one of the mirrors is quite low down. And when I took my pajamas off, I could see that King Kong had swapped out his genitalia with mine. Probably that's the easiest way of putting it. And I panicked, as you would, guys. I'm pretty sure none of you would disagree with this. And it was just unbelievable. So again, this is another side effect that apparently doesn't happen to a lot of people, but all of that air and everything that was in my shoulders traveled down my body and ended up in my genitalia. That was a terrifying part. And then, of course, because now I've got all this infection, I've got King Kong's genitalia. Because it's a hospital that's a university hospital, every single medical student in the place wanted to come and see me. And when they cut me open to drain the infection, there were 9 of them in the room, like gawping at, wow, look at the state of that. And I'm thinking, yeah, great, thanks, guys. strangely, when I had the problem with being King Kong, I was called other things apart from King Kong, but never mind. By my very close friends that were so lovingly supporting me through this. I had one doctor actually asked me, "Is that normal? Is that normal?" I was like, "I've got an iron brew bottle for a penis now. No, it's not normal." I mean, God, I'd be lucky if it was. No, you'd be unlucky if you were that big, genuinely. So anyway, again, all of the students wanted to come and have a look because it's quite a rare thing. They know about it, but very rarely get to see it, so they wanted to see it. It was like King's Cross Station in my hospital room for a while. So I ended up 2 weeks in hospital. The average is only 5 days, but because of all the complications and everything else, it went out to 5 days. What did that leave me with after that? Loads and loads of scars. I had another 6 weeks worth of support from the treatment centres I had to go to at least once a week to get stuff done and changed and everything else. And I ended up back in hospital again, actually, with a secondary infection again. So, it was a bit of a laugh. But I also ended up, strangely, being lactose intolerant, as well as fibre intolerant. And my eyesight it was already bad, but it went just gone, basically. I couldn't read properly. I couldn't see over there properly. So I now wear glasses constantly. I've got them off because they were reflecting the lights and making me look like I was wearing sunglasses, so they're off. But yeah, so the whole point of that, sorry, this is not about feel sorry for me. It's genuinely not. I feel sorry enough for myself sometimes, and I've had loads of support, and I've had all of the mental health support that it is required. This is honestly about telling people that these things might happen. You will be told, "Oh, there's only a slim chance of this." Yeah, that's fine. But what if they do happen? It is normal. It's nothing to worry about. It will go down. I'm back to not being King Kong. Some may say that's a bad thing, but there we are. Never mind. Anyway, the whole point is happens. If anybody's going through it, please, message, drop a comment. More than happy to talk to anybody about it, because there isn't enough out there for people going through this, as far as I'm concerned. The two support places I went to afterwards, and I had the real imposter syndrome as well, because I just felt, well, I didn't have to have chemotherapy. This is things I found out weeks later. I didn't have to have chemotherapy because the cancer was contained within my bowel, and once they removed that, and they removed all the blood vessels, and they removed all the lymph nodes and everything else all around about it, they cleared everything out. So I didn't need it. I was lucky. But we're always told, the whole view of people with cancer is they've gone bald, they've had chemotherapy, they've had radiotherapy, they're all weak and frail and everything else. And I don't look weak and frail to anybody. Anybody that thinks I'm weak and frail needs my glasses. So I had real imposter syndrome going into some of these places and seeing some people in there that had, real cancer, and had lots of stuff going on with them. But the two places I went to, this is where I'm going with that. I was going way off track there. The Maggie Centre, which is up in the Gart Naval Hospital, and Razor Hope, which is based out in Johnston. The Maggie Centre, don't get me wrong, see what those guys do up there. Absolutely phenomenal. What a job they do. And, if you're up that neck of the woods and you've got cancer, or you've had cancer, or, you need help because somebody you're caring for or you love or whatever has cancer, go and see these people. They are brilliant. But then I found the Razor Hope, and it's strange because I was somewhere and saw a leaflet the same day that Curtis was doing a podcast with them. And then he spoke to them about me, and then spoke to me, and I said, I've got the leaflet in my hand. So fate it must have been. Off I toddle to Raise a Hope, and Jennifer was the girl I was speaking to more over there, and they were absolutely brilliant, and I love the fit. It just felt right. I don't know. As again, I just felt good there. I felt like these people got me, and I got them, and I really, really liked them. So, if you want to support a local cancer support charity, Raise the Hope in Johnston, go and see them, help them out. They're just phenomenal people, and they do so much good. And I loved being part of what they do. And hopefully, if I can get time off my work, because I'm back at work now, 6 months later, I will. I'll go back and I'll take part in stuff and try and support them as much as I possibly can now as well. I am quite happy to do that for them because they were so good. The hardest part of having this or being told you've got it is the mental health side of it. All right. And this is where nobody but you can help you. All right. If you're going through this, and if, like me, you are really struggling with having it, and by it, see, I actually sometimes find it difficult to even say the word cancer, and especially like me, where if you're like me, sorry, and you don't have to have radiotherapy or you don't have to have chemotherapy, and it's all cleared up on the first operation, then you may be like me, and you really then have the whole imposter syndrome side of it as well. Please speak to somebody. There are some fabulous people out there. Most of these cancer support charities have got somebody you can speak to. If you are employed by a large employer, there's chances are there'll be some sort of employer package that you can get support through as well. I got mine. I'm lucky. I work for a large employer. Don't think I'm allowed to say who they are, so I won't. And I got a support package through them. Didn't cost me anything because it's part of my job, part of my thing. But it really made a difference. It really did make a difference in me because I was incredibly angry. And I didn't know where I was, and I didn't know anything. So, yeah, get help. Don't be afraid to ask. Guys are notoriously bad again about asking for help. Not in this day and age, boys. I put up a post on Facebook today because today's a special day for me. Today's the anniversary of the death of my father, who also died from a similar type of cancer. He didn't ask for help early enough. He did eventually, but not early enough. It transpires later on when we find out everything else. My dad had been passing blood through his urine for months, absolute months, and had never said a word about it. So by the time he talked to somebody about it, he was too far down the line to just get the surgery. He had to have the radiotherapy, and he had to have the chemotherapy, and he had all sorts of drugs and things like that, which made him too weak to have the surgery. When he was about to have the surgery, he died. So there's a difference, guys. My dad didn't ask. Generational thing, whatever. Didn't want to say anything. I don't know. Because my dad was a doctor. At the end of the day, I don't know. Well, he was a medic, sorry. I don't know why he didn't ask, but he didn't ask. I did. I'm still sitting here, and he's not. Don't be afraid to ask. The worst that's going to happen to you, I've told you, somebody's going to put their finger up your bum, and you're going to have to probably show your genitals when you're getting your CT scan done in a very cold room, and they won't be the size they should be because everything's cold and freezing. That's it. And if you can't handle that, then there's something very wrong with you guys. You need to get out there. If you have any situation where you think, I'm not keen on how that is, go and get it checked. And if you've had it checked, and if you've been diagnosed with something, make sure you're talking to somebody about it. Make sure you're getting the help you need. Okay? It's made a difference to me. I'm ready, I think, to get back to teaching my classes and helping, other people through their fitness journeys and everything else. Where am I going to be now? Because I'm going to move this conversation on because I'm going to start crying. And not that there's a problem with crying, but I'm trying to do a podcast. So not really going to work if I'm sat here in tears and I can't speak properly. So I'll move the conversation on. I've decided that given that I'm going to have another operation because I have got a surgical hernia that needs fixed. I've got a scan on Thursday that will sort of confirm everything, and then we'll take it from there. So what that means is I'm already 6 months without any training. As you can see, the things are starting to sit in places where they shouldn't be sitting. And I'll probably be another 6 months before I can do any real training again. I can do some light upper body stuff, but anything involved bracing in my lower abdomen, I can't do. I can't do deadlifts. I can't do squats. So I'm 53 years old this year, not training for a year, and then restarting to train. Realistically, I'll be 54 plus by the time I am back in condition where I can compete. And I don't want to be taking on 23-year-old boys, 24, 25-year-old boys when I'm 54 and been out of the game for a year and a half. So I am retired from strongman. It's what it is. I plan to continue with the gym, and I'm not gonna walk away from the gym at all. I'm gonna continue with the gym. I'm probably gonna go more down the bodybuilding route. I'm never gonna compete in bodybuilding. That's not gonna happen. But I'm probably gonna go more down that route and try and retain some of the strength. But my focus, I think, now will be on training other people, helping other people reach their potential, or at least the potential I can take them to. OPT Fitness is back. It will absolutely now be available for folk. Come along to the classes that I deliver, or if you want to do some one-to-one stuff, get in contact. I'm happy to do that. So I'm based in Paisley. Please don't say you want to come along if you're based in Bournemouth. Doesn't really work. But you know what I mean. I'm back. I have a new life. I have a new way of living life. As I say, lactose intolerant, fiber intolerant, all of these things. So what? I'm alive. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. And OPT Fitness will be going strong for a good while. So, right, there we are. That's my update, I think. If you've got any comments, you want to ask any questions, please get in touch and everything else. My plan going forward is that I am going to be inviting some gym owners in. There are some new gyms opening up in the area that I'm speaking to, help these guys develop their business plans and things. Because I do that as well, obviously. If you need help with that, get in touch. I'm going to get them in, and we're going to get back to the OPT podcast properly. So you don't just having to listen to me waffle on about me being me and what's happened to me. You'll get to hear from some other folk about how great it is to be a gym owner, and just get some insights into the fitness world, the gym world, because gym's not also about fitness, is it? It can be about all sorts of things. It can be just about mental health for some folk. And that's my biggest thing. Helping people help themselves be the best version of themselves, regardless of what that looks like to them, and regardless of what it looks like to us. I still live by their journey is their journey. Let them have their own journey. Don't compare yourself to anybody else, because you will never be anybody but you. Aspire to be the best version of yourself you can, and keep smiling. That's all you can do. Keep smiling. Thank you very much for your time. I hope I didn't bore anybody too much. And I hope you stayed to the end. And if it's a two-parter, I hope you watch both parts. I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to go off for a wee cry and now. And hopefully Curtis is not crying too much as well. We might have a little cuddle. Nothing wrong with cuddling, especially when it's your child. That's fine. But anyway, thank you. And I am back. Keep smiling, guys.